What's up again, guys? Yeah, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Dovahkiin, and welcome back to Project Toyota Rush TRD Sportivo. And before we begin, be sure to hit on the subscribe button for more great videos. Alright, for the first segment of this episode, I'm gonna share my methodology of cleaning my rides by showcasing the products that I use for nearly 20 years. And yes, though these products may be classic/old school, but for me, they have more than proven themselves over time. And I can proudly say that I've maintained my cars remarkably well by using those products. So there's no need to switch to new ones. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So here they are. By the way, this video is not sponsored by any of these products. Okay, first, the wax. I use Turtle Super Hard Shell Liquid. Anyhow, just to be clear, my cars are daily drives, so protection is more important to me than shine. And this wax delivers that outstandingly. But if in case I would need that showroom shine for a car show, meet, or something, I'd have it professionally detailed with either Meguiar's or Mother's just for the occasion. Alright, going back to Turtle. The super hard shell is advertised to last for a year, but of course, you don't make it linger that long. So, I wax thrice a year, every 4 months, on January, May, and September. Anyway, don't get the paste version of this wax, because you'll have a hard time buffing it off. On a side note, if you had your car nata coated, or more commonly known as ceramic coating, you need not wax at all. As per price, a 16-ounce bottle costs not more than 500 pesos and lasts nearly a year, which is not bad, considering that I use it for 3 cars already. Next is my car shampoo, Microtex Wash and Wax. And the most important thing about this one is that it doesn't remove your existing wax. In fact, it enhances it. Ideally, my wash schedule is twice a month, but that really depends on how dirty my rides are. So I could go as far as weekly, especially in bad weather. Just don't let the mud, bird droppings, tree sap, or any other corrosive stain stick for very long. However, if I don't find time and energy to do so, which means taking it to the nearest car wash, I always bring this product and instruct them to use it instead of their conventional foam. Because as you may not know, most industrial car wash foams contain degreasers that strip off wax. Though that is perfect if I need to apply a new coat of wax when conforming to my 4-month schedule. But if my intention is just a simple car wash, they'll use my Microtex Wash and Wax. On a side note, besides containing strong degreasers which remove wax, many household detergents and dishwashing liquids have granules, which can scratch your paint, and that's the simple reason why I never use it. As per price, a 2-liter container costs more or less 350 pesos, and like the wax, it lasts a year. Again, that's for 3 cars already. Alright, now on Armor All Original Protectant. Of course, this is the one I use at least once a month for all interior rubber, plastic, and leather. And not only inside but on the exterior as well, specifically on the black trims and on my body kits. To avoid the notorious greasiness, however, the key is not to spray it directly. First, I mix it with water, about 2 parts water, just an approximation by the way. Then, after applying it, just like wax, I buff it off with a dry and soft microfiber towel. Anyhow, Going back to rubber, instead of the typical tire black, I use this on my tires too. Though the wet look doesn't last as long as with tire black, what matters is the revitalization and protection of the rubber, not to mention no tire sling. Anyway, there's a myth that Armor All is bad for your car, but that remains a myth. Because as I've said, I've been using it for nearly 2 decades without problems. And like most protectants out on the market, Armor All is water-based and not solvent-based, which is what the myth is claiming it to be. As per price, a 16-ounce or nearly half a liter bottle costs roughly 320 pesos. And though I dilute it with water on use, that doesn't even last for 6 months. Because besides my rides, I use it in the household, on my devices, etc. and even on leather shoes. On a side note, an even better alternative is Car Pro Pearl. And though it's pricier at nearly 800 pesos for a half a liter bottle, it's a concentrate. So potentially, it's more economical depending on your preferred dilution ratio. Okay, next is a must-have, the Microtex Ultimate Duster. In good weather, this is your go-to duster. It's treated with wax, so when it's new, it may leave wax residue on your finish. Nothing to worry about because you can simply wipe it off, and will pass after a few uses. Mine is more than 10 years old already, and perhaps due for replacement, but still works fine, and stays true as advertised. The dirtier it gets, the better it works. Anyway, just don't use it on wet surfaces, or simply don't get it wet at all. As per price, this large one costs in the ballpark of 600 pesos, which is a sound long-term investment, if I may say. Now on glass, which isn't going to be much of a problem over the years, so I just use anything I can get hold of. On a side note, however, if you want to completely remove stickers on glass and the adhesive scum that they leave behind, simply rub it off after a little sprinkle of WD-40. Lastly, on the engine bay. I rarely do a DIY engine wash, but if I have time, I use an engine degreaser. And I don't rinse it with pressurized water. I carefully wipe it off with a wet towel. And on the rush, you have to be extra careful, because unlike other cars, we don't have an engine cover. Which means our sensitive terminals and connectors leading to the engine itself are exposed. Avoid getting them wet at all costs. And not only those on the engine, but on other sections of the engine bay as well. Again, I rarely do this on my own. My practice, however, is just to dry clean them by scrubbing off dirt and dust with my dry brushes monthly. Doesn't take more than 15 minutes to do so. Then, I annually bring my cars to a reputable detailing shop or the dealership itself for professional engine wash instead. Alright, I've pretty much covered the major car care products and will no longer discuss the minor ones. To remind you again, my cars are daily drives and are neither show nor museum pieces. Hence, I don't use those expensive top-of-the-line products, because I see no point in spending that much. All I've showcased here are well within the mid-range price, but perform remarkably well, if I may say. Now for the second segment of this vid, the undercoat. The best time for your car to undergo this process is when it's brand new, because most likely you don't have any sort of corrosion yet. I had this scheduled last year, 2019, but I was hospitalized and is recovering from a serious pulmonary illness. Then, on top of that, this year came the pandemic, and I had to postpone it again because of the enhanced community quarantine. And yes, I'm taking extra precautions because I am part of the high-risk group. Anyway, during my 1000 km PMS, which I featured in my 4th episode, I found out that most of the Rush's undercarriage is not protected. In fact, only the wheel wells are coated, and everything else is exposed. It's a GCQ now, and most businesses are open. So here we are at my nearest Shell Service Center. By the way, the procedure itself takes several hours. Had to drop my car early in the morning and pick it up much later in the afternoon. But the full curing process takes a few days, so it has to stay in the garage. And I have to pray for good weather as well. And that is all there is for now. Thanks for watching. Also check out other videos from Sabbath Band Philippines and don't forget to subscribe. See ya on my next vid. Peace out, y'all.